Hey there, I'm Caden Rains and welcome to my basement. Today we're continuing the at least vaguely sci-fi side of my villain shelf with Xanatos from Disney's Gargoyles, specifically the NECA Ultimate Action Figure version that we've got on my little Lazy Susan here. If you're not a 90s kid, then go watch this on Disney Plus or just any of those sites that have things that legally they shouldn't. I won't tell anyone you did that. But this was the original villain from that series, and let's take a look at him. There's a lot of good just to the start of this packaging here, and we're gonna take it all apart and see what's really in stock. So let's do that. So here we have Xanatos out of the box and with one of his bigger accessories, that being one of the laser rifles from the show. I don't remember if laser rifle is the right term for it, but it's a big gun and it shoots a laser. So, laser rifle fits well enough. So, good old Jonathan Frakes here was a pretty good villain for the time period. You can kind of think of him as a more suave Lex Luthor. That's probably how I'd describe him. He wasn't necessarily a mad scientist or technical genius comparatively, but he still did a lot of the work himself. He didn't just tell his lackeys to design him a new gun or a new robot or whatever. He figured stuff out himself. He was part of that, which is why he is going on the part of the shelf he is, even though he stopped being an antagonist in the later part of the series. So that's kind of a ramble that I'm going to try and cut off right there, but just looking at the figure, I've gone ahead and put on what the back of the box kind of looks like his gun hands, because these two are how you get him to hold the gun. So you don't need the left one to have him hold it, but that's the pose anyway. So as far as looks go, there he goes. He looks like the character in the show, a slightly more realistic version without going totally non-cartoony, which is what I aim for. I prefer that they look like they looked in the show when I get these collectibles, let's say. And that's part of the reason why there's only 2 NECA figures I have from the Gargoyle line. Him and Detective Mazza, who you might have noticed neither of them are the actual gargoyles. I think that NECA went a little overboard with the detail on the actual gargoyle figures, whereas it works, the level of detail they've gone into for the humans, and we'll get to Mazza eventually, is appropriate, I suppose is the right word. So that's why you're not going to see any NECA gargoyles, although you will see at least one gargoyle that is, at some point, but it won't be a NECA one. So as far as just appearances go, like I said, he looks like the character in the show. He's well detailed. I don't know if it's something to do with the way the material or the way I had him stored for a while, but I'm not sure if I love the shiny effect on his pants, and there's some on his shirt as well. Maybe I'm just tripping. I don't know. But something about that seems a little off to me. So maybe I just got one that wasn't at perfect material. But on the whole, I think he looks fine. Like I said, he matches my expectations from remembering the show. Funny little fact is that when Disney Plus did come out, the first thing I watched on it was Gargoyles again, because I hadn't seen it in years. But that's I guess that says something about me. I don't know what. I think everything on this channel says something about me, and some of it I don't understand, and some of it I just pretend not to understand. But regardless, so that's the main figure. He comes with some other accessories. One of them is the Demona's cloak wings. So this is something NECA did for a couple of their figures where they, especially with the Gargoyles, they didn't put the open wings and the folded wings in the same packaging, and I'm sure there was a bunch of reasons for that. But since I'll never own that Demona unless someone gives it to me, this is just a useless accessory when it comes to my collection. So in the box it will stay, and there it will remain, and that's just sad, I guess. As far as actual useful accessories go, though, we've got a couple that I'm not going to completely take out of the packaging, but we've got his alternate head here, and he's angry. Look how angry and sneerful he is. Then we've got a floppy disk, because remember, this was from the 90s, and in 90s, at least the early 90s, floppy disks are what you stored stuff on. Then we got some alternate hands, his regular fists that he started with. He's got a more open palm, and then this is sort of a midway grabby hand here. I feel like this one is probably what you're intended to put the floppy disk in, but I'm going to keep the gun hands out. Additionally, you have an accessory from the show, which is this object, which I'm sorry, I don't remember which one it was, but it's one of those things that he used during the show. And then you've got an attachment for the laser rifle. So as he's shooting, you just stick that in there. Oh, now he doesn't want to. There we go. Yeah. So now, pew pew, pew pew, Star Trek sound effect. But yeah, so you know, it's neat if you're setting up a scene, a specific type of scene with him, or God forbid you're actually playing with your toys. There's that, so you can get that going. I probably won't do that on mine. I will keep him with the gun for now. I was kind of imagining it over his shoulder, but I'll have to play with that posing because that doesn't quite look right to me. But otherwise, he's what I expected. He's what I was looking for. You know, NECA usually does a pretty good job. As I said, I think they went over detailed on the gargoyles themselves, which is why we're not showing off any of them. But as far as Xanatos goes here, it's a pretty good figure, and I still see some of these gargoyle figures from across the different waves. I'm not exactly sure how their waves were separated because I wasn't paying attention to it for most of it, but I still see him and some of the others on shelves. There's still a good chance you could find him without having to pay a bunch of extra on eBay or something. So let's go plop him down for the time being and see how he looks on the shelf. All right, and that's where we're going to stick him for now, next to the Eggman collection, because I feel like Xanatos would appreciate Eggman's attempts to stick vaguely animal-shaped things inside of vaguely similar shaped robots and the like. It's not something Xanatos is unfamiliar with. So we're just going to leave him there for now. The rest of this space here is going to be kind of miscellaneous, besides the fact that they're all vaguely sci-fi in one way or another. So we're just going to put them there as we go through these next couple. I do still plan to redo the Sonic villain section, getting new stands and a backdrop of some sort. But for now, do you have the Xanatos Ultimate figure from NECA? If you do, let me know down below if you like him or dislike him, if you think that he shouldn't be next to a bunch of Sonic figures. And if you don't, same thing. Let me know down below if you wish you had him, if you're glad you didn't have him, if you think that I should stop talking about things from the 90s, which I'm sorry, you're just talking to a wall at that point. But yeah, regardless, I hope you enjoyed your time in my basement today, and I'll see you in the next one.